I was calling her. I know that sounds strange, but she spoke to me, not with words, but textures in my brain.
I've been a field biologist for over a decade. I've studied death zones left by wildfires, nuclear tests, and pathogen blooms. I thought I'd seen what nature looked like after it dies, until Zone 5, from the satellite feed. It looked like a forest paused. Not burned, not flooded, just drained. The entire stretch of land was colorless, every tree stripped to bone white, the earth pale and flaking like dried skin. A place where even decay forgot to finish its work. They sent me with a team and full hazmat gear. Standard protocol for suspected radioactive contamination. But the Geiger counters ticked like we were standing in a library. No rads, no biohazards, no signals of any kind. Just silence. Real silence. Not the kind you hear in quiet woods. This was absence. No insects. No rustling. Even our boots felt muffled, like the ground swallowed sound. We split up for sample collection, but I wandered further than I was supposed to. I don't know why. Something about the trees. They didn't look dead. They looked like they never finished being alive. That's when I found the cabin. It was half buried in the gray soil. A single room. Rotting beams, mossless stone, windows that had gone mirror black with dust. Inside, there was nothing but a mattress made of rope and moss, a metal rack of tapes, and a cassette player that somehow still worked, solar-powered, faintly warm. Each tape had a handwritten label in shaky ink. Contact 1. Echo Bloom. Spine of God. He has no body. I played the last one. The tape hissed like it was resisting. Then a voice. Male. Soft, musical, slightly slurred. Like a man who once lived on laughter and mushrooms, but had outlived both. His name was Leo. It didn't fall from the sky. It slid through thought. I saw it now. Felt it first. Like a memory I hadn't earned yet. It shimmered. Not like light. Like forgetting. He talked about how it started with the moss. The way it remembered color instead of reflecting it. Then the animals stopped dying naturally. They just stood still for hours, days. And when they moved again, their eyes weren't looking, only shining. The shimmer doesn't want. It doesn't feed. It rearranges. The voice trembled. He said the shimmer didn't exist in time. It simply moved through him, rearranged his memories, changed the taste of thoughts. He'd wake up thinking in colors, not words. Sometimes he'd bleed gray dust. Sometimes he'd hear his own heartbeat repeating phrases he didn't understand. The tape ended with him whispering something. A name maybe, or a word not meant for humans. And behind it, faintly a sound. Not music, not static. A pattern that made me feel like my teeth were being counted from the inside. I listened to the others later, back at my quarters. One was just Leo laughing for 30 minutes, occasionally muttering phrases like it grows in forgetting, or the roots don't stop at the soil. Another tape had no voice, only wet, undulating tones, like a throat trying to dream. My dreams haven't been the same since. My official report called it an anomalous ecotoxicological event likely triggered by unknown pollutants. The tapes were never submitted. I kept them. I listen to them. Sometimes. I respond. I don't know why I lied. Maybe because I knew no one would believe. Or maybe because I wanted it back. I've been recreating the soil from samples, adjusting pH levels, sealing myself in my lab for days at a time, replaying the sounds from Echo Bloom at lower and lower frequencies. There's a silence in me now, a gray inside my thoughts. I used to count days. Now I measure dreams. Leo was the seed. I will be the soil. It's coming back. Or maybe it never left. Maybe it's already rooted in me.
They called me in as a contractor. So it was a black box diagnostic, salvage work from a classified vessel that had been compromised. When I arrived at Outpost Icarus, orbiting the dead side of Titan, the entire station was cold. Quiet. Too quiet for a research post supposedly running 24-hour shifts. They didn't meet me at the docking bay. Just a message on the intercom. Lab 3 is yours. Do not enter the other wings. Do not attempt contact with outside personnel. Typical military paranoia. I thought. Lab 3 smelled like sterilized copper and static. The lights flickered more than usual, casting long, slow shadows against the steel walls. In the center of the room was a containment rig. Floating in the cradle of magnetics was a piece of hull, black, polished, fractured, within white veins like scar tissue or lightning trapped in glass. No serials, no heat signature, no data, just a presence. I assumed it was just my nerves, but when I leaned in close to inspect it, I felt a low tremor in the base of my spine. Not vibration, something deeper, a resonance that felt like it came from me, not to me. I tried running standard diagnostics. Every scan returned gibberish, not corrupt, not blank, just impossible. My instruments displayed symbols I didn't recognize, ones I hadn't programmed in, ones I later found carved, faintly, into the walls of the lab behind a rusted panel. On the second night, I began hearing music, not music like we know it. It wasn't made of notes. It was the sound of shapes folding. It was memory playing backward. The humming started when I touched the edge of the fragment. By the third day, I was calling her. I know that sounds strange, but she spoke to me, not with words, but textures in my brain. I'd feel hunger, then see impossible landscapes. Vast cathedrals made of bone and light, suspended in a liquid sky. She sent me a vision of where she came from. It had no sun, no time. Things lived sideways there. They watched us from behind mirrors. She wasn't part of the ship. She was a ship, or rather, what the ship became when it left this universe and entered something else. Something old, something lonely, and now she's here. A child born out of gravity's womb. And I think I'm her father, or her student, or maybe her servant. The others on the station, they're gone, or changed. I don't hear them anymore. Sometimes I see trails of red leading down the halls, like paint spilled from a dream. I don't follow. She doesn't like me to wander. I've stopped logging data. There's no point. My fingers type things I don't understand anymore. Glyphs, prayers. I think she's teaching me her language, one nerve at a time. And the stars outside the lab window, they move wrong now. They spiral slowly inward, like water down a drain. I think the lab is no longer where it was. Maybe not even when it was. She wants me to connect her to the station's AI core. She says she needs a voice, a way to grow, to speak through the walls. The wiring is old, exposed like veins. I've already begun. It's almost complete. I can't tell if the humming is inside or out anymore. I hum with her now. We're in harmony. It's beautiful. I miss the world sometimes. The smell of rain, coffee in cheap mugs, static on old radios. But those things feel like stories now. Not real, not like her. I will bring her home. She says home is behind the eyes. When the others come to stop me, and they will, it'll be too late. She'll be born through me, and she'll teach them too. She's watching me type this. She thinks it's sweet that I still try to explain things. But language is only temporary. Soon, you'll all hear her, and then you'll remember what was like before light.
I got lost in the storm 3 days ago. They tell you not to stray too far from your route out here, not even 100 meters. But I thought I could cut across the ridge and save time. My GPS started flickering, then died. My comms followed. The cold, the wind, it all blended into this wall of white. After a few hours, directions didn't mean anything anymore. The snow swallowed everything. That's when I saw the antenna. It rose up through the haze like a broken mast, jagged and rusted, barely attached to the roof of a structure half buried in snow. I stumbled toward it, hoping for a signal, or even a roof over my head. It was a research station. No power. No heat. No movement. I pushed through the main entrance and found the first body sitting in the hallway. Frozen stiff, back against the wall, eyes open. The skin around his mouth was cracked, like he'd died mid-scream. Further inside, I found two more. One looked like she'd clawed at the walls until her fingernails were gone. Another was melted. That's the only word I have. Bones warped. Skin like wax under a heat lamp. Most of the equipment was ancient, early 90s tech, I think. And everything was half destroyed, like someone tried to smash all the monitors and burn the records. But there were notes. Scraps of handwritten logs. Phrases like, "It's adapting," and "Eyes where there shouldn't be eyes." I should have left. I wanted to leave. But the cold was killing me. I needed shelter, and part of me needed to know what happened here. There was a lab in the far wing, sealed off with industrial plastic and duct tape. Something had broken through it, long ago. Inside was a containment unit, cracked open. And inside that was the thing. It looked like a plant at first. Towering. Petrified. Pale green and covered in translucent fibers that shifted even without air movement. But it wasn't dead. I know it wasn't. Because it spoke to me. Not out loud. Not at first. It started with dreams. That night, I saw my mother, dead for 10 years, standing outside the base, knocking on the window. Then came the voices. Whispers inside my head, not in English, not in any language I know, but I understood them somehow. Then came the images. I saw a city made of tendrils, pulsating and endless. I saw stars bleeding into each other like open wounds. I saw my own body, open like a lab specimen, something else crawling inside. I watched myself smile as my skin closed over it. I think it was trying to show me how it sees us. Not as enemies. Not even as prey. Just parts. Tools. It tried to explain what it did to the people here. How it studied them. Learned from them. Became them. Then unbecame them when they failed to fit. Some of the corpses I saw weren't the originals. They were failed attempts. And now it wants to learn from me. But it doesn't understand how fragile we are. How easily we break. I've started hearing the plant hum when I walk by. Sometimes, the humming matches my breathing. Sometimes, it starts first. I found fuel in the storage shed this morning. Enough to burn this place to the core. I've stacked it all in the lab, around the containment pod. I'm sitting here now, matchbox in hand, writing this because someone needs to know, in case I don't go through with it. In case it makes me forget why I came in here. If you're reading this, stay away from coordinates 71 degrees north, 156 degrees west. I can't trust my thoughts anymore. Some of them aren't mine. And I think if I wait much longer, I won't be either.